Hello everyone, this is Hollywood Joe from Hollywood's World of Sports, coming to you from K-Fave Studios to talk to you about the 2019 Major League Baseball Preview Show. On this episode, we are going to do a quick rundown of all the major storylines going into this year's baseball season. So strap up, tune in, and get ready for a fast ride and a fast course to the 2019 MLB season. Going into this season, there was a lot of negotiations with the collective bargaining agreement and rule changes for this season and next season. But I want to focus on the 4 new rule changes that are taking effect in the 2019 season. There is now a 1 trade deadline. And what that means is, prior to this season, there was always the non-waiver trade deadline that took place on July 31st. But after that, teams could acquire major superstars through waivers. So, for example, a couple of years ago, Justin Verlander was basically released by the Detroit Tigers and went to the Houston Astros. Moves like that will no longer happen. MLB is prohibiting any type of trades to be made after July 31st starting this year. So for me, I think it's a positive thing. I think it makes teams think harder and think smarter about what kind of moves they're going to make. And I also think that teams that are giving up a superstar to help another team potentially win a World Series should get more value for what they're giving up in return. Another great move is shortening inning breaks. I believe that the game, sometimes the biggest criticism of it is that the game is, too slow-paced, boring. People often describe that to me when they talk about baseball. So now there's going to be shorter inning breaks, which will hopefully speed up the game. And speaking of speeding up the game, more rules are going to be added next year to help speed up the game, but we will get back into that on another time. But the 2 big changes that are fun for me reflect around the All Star Game this year. The Home Run Derby winner will now receive a $1 million bonus, which is a huge incentive to try and keep the big name, power hitters coming back to the Home Run Derby. I like the effort here that Major League Baseball is trying to create, because I think they look at other all-star activities, and for example, like the NBA all-star activities. The slam dunk competition has always been fun, but in the last 5 to 10 years, you don't see the major names, the big superstars, participating in slam dunk contests, and therefore it's kind of hard to draw interest. MLB is doing its best, in my opinion, to make sure that the Home Run Derby continues to have interest like it has in years past, and hopefully continually in the future. And speaking of the All-Star Game, I love the voting process that they came up with this year. In years past, you could vote for 25 ballots at a time, which is per standard in baseball. But this year is a little different. Initially, there's going to be an initial vote, like normal. You vote for your favorite players at each position, but then they're going to tally up the votes, and at the end of the voting session, they're going to do a revote. And what that means is they're going to take the top 3 players from each position and revote on those top 3 players to see who gets the starting position for the All-Star Game. I think it's a brilliant move. I think it's going to be fun to watch the players campaign for themselves or other players campaign for their teammates. And I think this is going to be a better initiative to get more people involved. So come July, it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of campaigning along the way for the MLB All-Star Game. Going into this past offseason, the 2 big free agents were Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. Bryce Harper ended up signing a 13-year, $330 million contract with the Philadelphia Phillies, and Manny Machado has signed a 10-year, $300 million contract with the San Diego Padres. And, I personally think that's way too much money for any one player. I think that long term, it's not a good idea. But we'll have to see the results. My personal opinion, I think Harper has a better team around him than the Phillies. The Phillies made a lot of off-season acquisitions that were smart and that were affordable to try and be able to sign Harper. Whereas, Machado going to the Padres, I didn't see a whole lot of sense in it. But the other big storyline going on with Bryce Harper and the Philadelphia Phillies is now Bryce Harper is trying to lure Los Angeles Angels outfielder Mike Trout into coming to Philadelphia once his contract up. Many people are saying that Trout's contract could be up to $400 million the next time he is negotiating. I don't know how the Phillies can afford that, but if they can, more power to them. But the issue is Bryce Harper tampering? There's been a big wave of issues of tampering in sports as of late. The NBA's had some issues, like with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But some people say it's good to have player empowerment and players trying to, partner with other players. Some might say that it's, corporate telling players to get involved so they don't get in trouble. It remains to be seen what kind of action Major League Baseball will take against Bryce Harper and the Philadelphia Phillies if this continues. But rest assured, Mike Trout is due for a big contract, and it will be interesting to see where he goes next season. Going into this season, the teams seem more balanced than ever. I feel like a free agency, all the teams did fairly well. Obviously, there was a couple of major superstars that shift the balance of power. I went into every depth chart, looked at a lot of the statistics. It was very hard to come up with these predictions. I know I'm probably going to get stoned and yelled at for what I come up with. That's okay. We all have an opinion. But I'm going to run down my predictions for you right now. In the NL West, I'm going out on a limb and saying that the Rockies will win the NL West. NL Central, the Brewers look like a very formidable team again. And then the NL East, which was the toughest because you have the Braves, Mets, and the Phillies, I have to go with the Phillies. The Bryce Harper momentum on top of everyone else they signed, it's too good not to pick them. Now onto the American League. The AL West, I am predicting that the Astros will wind up winning that division again. In the AL Central, my bold prediction for that are the Minnesota Twins. I believe the Twins had a really good offseason, added some power, added some pitching. I think they're going to make a run again. It's just too bad that Joe Mauer retired 1 year too soon. And in the AL East, got to go with the Yankees. The Yankees were rumored to get both Machado and Harper, but did not sign either one of them because the price was too high. But they made some very key and quality acquisitions during the offseason. Now, before I leave, I just want to give you my wild card predictions because obviously there are 2 wild cards at the end of each season. So in the National League, I'm going to say that the wild cards are going to be the Braves and the Dodgers. And in the American League, I believe the wild cards will be the Red Sox and the Angels. So those are my predictions. You can look back in about 9 months from now to see if I was correct. So the one team everyone always talks about every single year are the Yankees. So I really can't be much different because the Yankees are always, doing interesting things, making interesting moves, and they're in the spotlight no matter what they're doing. This spring training has been really interesting for the Yankees. They are leading their league right now as we speak with the overall record, and they're just looking really phenomenal on offense. However, there are some concerns going into opening day. Currently, there's CC Sabathia, Luis Severino, and Aaron Hicks. They're all on the disabled list, and we honestly don't know when they're coming back. For pitching purposes, having Sabathia Severino out is not a good look, and having Hicks out really kind of creates a problem in the outfield, because usually the outfield is Judge, Hicks, and Gardner, but they might have to make some moves and put one of the guys in center field, and Stanton might have to play in left field or right field at some point, during the first month. But speaking of the outfield, Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge had a great rookie season, 52 home runs, won Rookie of the Year. But then last year, he started off hot again, but was hit by a pitch midway through the season, which, it caused a very bad wrist injury, and he was out for almost 2 months. This spring training, I was really looking forward to seeing how he was going to bounce back from that wrist injury, and he is not disappointed. To this date, he has 10 hits, and they've all been extra base hits. Currently, he is sitting at 6 home runs and 4 doubles in this year's spring training. And so Judge is going to be one to watch if he stays healthy, if he stays consistent. I think he is in for another monster year. And again, Yankees being healthy is what I based my American League East prediction on. If the Yankees are healthy, I think they have a very, very good shot at the World Series once again. So going into the season, I'm excited. I just think the balance of the league is strong. I think there's going to be a lot of healthy competition. I don't think you'll see any one person run away with any one division. That is because of all the crazy free agent signings and free agent movement in the offseason. So I'm excited for the level of competition. I feel like baseball is very closely, the word I'm looking for is, closely competitive, I guess. Basketball, you always have your 2 or 3 favorites. Football, you usually have your 2 or 3 favorites. But baseball, it seems like there's 2 or 3 teams in every division that can get the job done. So, I'm looking forward to that and seeing how that plays out throughout the year. I'm also excited for the All Star stuff. I think the incentive for the Home Run Derby and the voting process for the All Star Game is going to be really fantastic, really fun, and it's great to be interactive with your fans. And lastly, but mostly certainly not least, I guess the number one thing I'm excited for is going back to Comerica Park and going to see the Tigers and Yankees once again. I went and watched the Yankees and Tigers last year. They won both games. Yankees did, thankfully. And hopefully they'll win again this year when I revisit Comerica in September. So, this has been a presentation of Hollywood's World of Sports from Kayfabe Studios, reminding you always that controversy doesn't come without criticism, and be sure to check out hollywoodsworldofsports.com.
Boo, go Tigers.